Now, one thing that you thought maybe we weren't going to be talking about when we're talking about influence is the physical environment and influence, and how your brain perceives and responds to the physical environment. Because it can have a really significant impact on how your brain perceives and responds to different stimuli. Our environment can influence our mood, it can influence our behavior, our cognitive performance, as well as our physical health. Now, the physical environment can affect your brain function in a number of ways. For example, exposure to natural environments like parks or green spaces. These have been linked to improve our mood, to reduce our stress levels, and to also give us better cognitive function. Now, this is due to the effects of nature on the brain. And some of those effects include a reduction in cognitive load, an increase in attention restoration, and improved mental clarity. Nature is wonderful. It's got so many organic benefits that we get just from being around it. Now, similarly, exposure to urban environments like noisy and crowded cities, these can have negative effects on brain function. And this can be due to the effect of noise and noise pollution on the brain. That leads to increased stress, leads to reduced cognitive performance and impaired mental health. Now, another important aspect of the physical environment is lighting. Now, exposure to natural light has a positive impact on mood and alertness and cognitive performance. But exposure to artificial light, and in particular fluorescent types of lights and blue lights as well from electronic devices, these can disrupt our circadian rhythms, and these can lead to sleep disturbances, and it can actually lead us down this path of burnout and really changing our brain structure permanently. So it can be pretty scary when we look into these things like sound and lighting. But in addition to those environmental factors, the physical environment can also influence social behaviour and interpersonal relationships. Now, the layout and the design of a workplace or a home or anywhere really, it can affect communication patterns, and it can affect group dynamics or team dynamics. And the design of public spaces can also influence social behaviour and social interaction. Now, the effects of this is really complex and involves when we start to dig into it, it involves a whole bunch of different brain regions and processes. For example, exposure to natural environments activates the prefrontal cortex that's involved in attention and cognitive control, as well as the amygdala, which is involved in emotional regulation. Now, exposure to urban environments, in contrast to how that's all happening, has been shown to activate the hypothalamus pituitary adrenaline axis, and that's involved in stress regulation. And the insula as well. This is involved in interoception and the processing of emotional and physiological signals. Like, that's a lot, right? That's a lot going on, and there is a lot going on. And people don't often appreciate the importance of the physical environment enough. We are now starting to see neuroarchitecture, which I think is great. We've been talking about ergonomic spaces for quite a while. We're now moving past that and talking about neurologically designed workspaces, because this is complex, it's multifaceted, and it's the same for the effect of lighting on the brain. This involves a number of different processes, which, for one, it includes the suppression of melatonin. It includes the regulation of circadian rhythms, and it includes the activation of visual and non-visual photoreceptors in the retina. And these are things that should happen naturally for us through sunlight, right? These are things that we've evolved to expect, and we know that the sun comes up and it goes down, and we're pretty used to that. So when those things get disrupted, this is when these processes can have a significant impact on our mood and our alertness and our cognitive performance. And the effects of the physical environment on brain function have really important implications for health and well-being. Now, exposure to natural environments, this has been linked to reduced stress levels and improved mood and better cognitive performance. This is why being a tradie is so great. You know, tradies do so much of this stuff in their everyday life that benefits them. They're outdoors a lot of the time. They're doing physical exercise. They take breaks when they need to take breaks. You know, a lot of people that I work with work much more in the knowledge economy or in professional services or financial services or things that involve or medical and health. things that involve people and staying inside a lot. And we lose a lot from being outdoors and in nature. And when we're exposed too much to these urban environments, this has been linked to increased stress levels. It's been linked to reduced cognitive performance and impaired mental health. Now, the design of workplaces and public spaces and residential environments, these have really important implications for our social behaviour and also for our interpersonal relationships. So we can take steps to understand the underlying neuroscience of those effects, and we can start to let that filter through into how we're designing and our architects and our urban planners, and how they can create these environments that promote health and promote well-being and promote social cohesion. The physical environment can have a significant effect on how the brain perceives and responds to stimuli. A significant effect. Now, it's complex. It involves a whole bunch of things that are going on in your brain regions and different processes, but we can understand those things. And now that we can understand those things, we should be taking steps to create environments that promote health, promote well-being, and promote social cohesion through these neurodynamic spaces, workplaces, social spaces, residential spaces. We have the knowledge, we have the technology, we can do it better. That's all for now. Bye now.